Why did Latin America fall in love with Turkish series? The answer to this question is not hidden in a single series, a single actor, or a single success story. This answer lies within a much larger cultural encounter that has developed over the years. On one side, there was a powerful television production system that wanted to expand to different regions of the world. On the other side, there were millions of Latin American viewers accustomed to emotional narratives, family stories, great loves, and long-term character journeys. When Turkish series reached Latin America, they did not actually enter a completely foreign world. The language on the screen was different. The cities were different. The names were different. But the emotions told were familiar. A mother's sacrifice for her child. A family's struggle not to fall apart. The years-long wait for a seemingly impossible love. Lives caught between wealth and poverty. Pride, loyalty, resentment, forgiveness, family honor, and the desire to start over. None of these were distant emotions for the Latin American audience. On the contrary, these emotions were also the building blocks of Latin American television tradition. Latin America grew up with telenovela culture for many years. From Mexico to Brazil, from Argentina to Chile, in many countries, television was not just an entertainment tool. It became the common voice of homes. It created a cultural space where families watched together, discussed characters, and reflected on their own lives through stories. That is why, when Turkish series came to the region, the audience found a world they did not know but emotionally understood. Turkey's rise in series exports first began in its close geography. Turkish series received strong interest in the Middle East, the Balkans, and North Africa. Over time, this interest attracted the attention of international distribution companies, television channels, and broadcasters. Turkey became a television center capable of producing long episodes, with high production values, based on strong acting, and reaching wide audiences. For Latin America, the breaking point was that Turkish series were seen not only as a cheap content alternative but as a source of stories that could form a real bond with the audience. At first, Turkish series were economically attractive for many channels. Long seasons, a large number of episodes, strong dramatic structure, and a storyline that kept the audience hooked provided important advantages for broadcasters. But the real growth began on the screen. The audience embraced the series. Broadcasters bought new Turkish productions. Social media comments increased. Actors' names became known in Latin America. Some series achieved rating success in the countries where they aired. And after a while, Turkish series moved beyond being an ordinary imported content in the Latin American television flow. They became a cultural product with their own audience, one that was anticipated, discussed, and followed. The first reason for this success was that Turkish series placed family emotions at the center. In Latin American societies, family is one of the strongest institutions of social life. In Turkish series, family is often the foundation of the story. Characters do not just make individual decisions. They act in connection with their families, their pasts, their neighborhoods, their class positions, and their traditions. When a character falls in love, it is not just a matter of two people. Families intervene. Old wounds open. Social differences become visible. Societal expectations exert pressure. This structure formed a strong bond with the melodrama tradition that Latin American audiences were accustomed to. But Turkish series presented this familiar emotion with a different aesthetic. Unlike Hollywood's fast-paced narrative, Turkish series gave time to emotions. Gazes lingered. Silences gained meaning. A character's inner world was told not only through words but through facial expressions, setting, music, and anticipation. This slow and intense narrative style might have seemed different to some viewers at first. But over time, this difference became one of the strongest aspects of Turkish series. Because Turkish series did not rush. Love did not start immediately. Forgiveness did not happen right away. The revelation of a secret sometimes took a long time. A family's breakup or reunion was handled over episodes. This long breath structure allowed the audience to spend more time with the characters. The characters were not just people appearing in events, they became familiar faces that the audience followed for weeks or months. The second major reason for the love of Turkish series in Latin America was the form of the love narrative. In Turkish series, love is often not just a romantic feeling. It is also patience. It is sacrifice. It is a test. It is a struggle with family, tradition, the past, and sometimes class differences. Big loves have always had a strong place in Latin telenovelas as well. However, Turkish series presented these loves in a different visual and emotional atmosphere. Two characters walking on the streets of Istanbul. In spoken words by the Bosphorus. family secrets hidden in an old mansion, relationships that start in a modern office but grow with the burdens of the past. These scenes felt both familiar and new to the Latin American audience. They were familiar because the obstacles to love were universal. They were new because this time the story was told within Istanbul, Anatolia, Turkish family structure, and a different cultural atmosphere. The third important reason was the visual world of Turkish series. While watching Turkish series, the Latin American audience did not just follow the characters. They also saw Turkey. Istanbul was often not just a backdrop in these stories. It was almost like a living character. Bosphorus bridges, old waterfront mansions, historic mosques, narrow streets, modern skyscrapers, crowded squares, quiet scenes by the sea. For many viewers, Istanbul became an enchanting city known through the series. This visual world expanded the cultural impact of Turkish series. The audience became curious not only about a love story but also about the city where that love took place. The desire to travel to Turkey, the desire to learn about Turkish culture, interest in Turkish words, and the habit of following the actors' social media accounts were natural results of this curiosity. A television series eventually turned into a broader impact that generated interest in tourism, language, culture, and social media. The fourth reason was the acting style in Turkish series. For the Latin American audience, Turkish actors both looked like stars and were not unreachable. Within high production scenes, natural expressions, family tensions, fragile moments, and emotional facial expressions were at the forefront. This created closeness with the audience. The actors were loved not just because they were beautiful or charismatic, but because they could carry emotion. A mother's silence, a father's regret, a young woman's power to resist, a man's attempt to hide his inner breakdown. These moments made the series understandable worldwide. Because good acting can be felt independently of subtitles or dubbing. The fifth main reason for Turkish series interest in Latin America was the music. Turkish series are often remembered with their strong theme music. Piano, strings, local melodic textures, and heavy, slow-moving emotional music strengthen the atmosphere of the story. For the Latin American audience, this music carried the emotion without the need to understand the words. In a separation scene, the music told what the characters could not say. In a reunion moment, the music amplified the weight of the weight. The melody heard at a family dinner deepened the feeling of home. For this reason, Turkish series became productions remembered not only visually but also audibly. The sixth reason was that female characters found a strong response in Latin America. In Turkish series, female characters often carry multiple burdens. Family responsibility, love, societal pressure, economic difficulties, past secrets, and the desire to stand on their own feet are presented together. These characters are not always perfect. Sometimes they break. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they remain silent. But most of the time, they appear in an effort to survive, protect their family, or find their own path. The Latin American audience understood this struggle. Because in many societies, women's invisible labor within the family, their sacrifice, and their power to resist are felt as a common experience. Male characters in Turkish series also received separate interest. The protective, family-oriented male character type who does not easily show his emotions but lives them deeply attracted a wide audience in Latin America. These characters were sometimes harsh, sometimes proud, sometimes silent, sometimes flawed. But in most stories, they developed through loyalty, regret, love, and family responsibility. This took them beyond being just romantic figures and made them part of long-term character journeys. The seventh reason was that Turkish series could present the old and the new at the same time. Turkey appeared on screen as both a modern and traditional country. Istanbul's modern life stood side by side with historical architecture. Luxurious lives merged with neighborhood culture in the same story. Conflicts between elders and the younger generation turned into a universal narrative. This contrast was interesting for the Latin American audience. Because many Latin American countries had also faced issues such as modernization, tradition, family structure, class differences, and urbanization in their own social history. Turkish series did not tell these issues like giving a direct lesson. They showed them through the lives of the characters. This made the stories more natural. The eighth reason was the distribution and broadcasting strategy. Turkish series entered Latin America not only as content but as a product of a strong international sector. Series produced in Turkey had long episodes. The stories were universal enough to be adapted to many countries. They could be easily transferred to different markets with dubbing and subtitle processes. For local television channels, these productions were valuable both in terms of cost and audience loyalty. When a series was successful, the audience stayed in front of the screen for a long time. When an actor was loved, their other works were also followed with curiosity. When a story gained interest, demand for similar Turkish productions increased. Thus, individual successes created a chain effect over time. The ninth reason was that social media accelerated growth. The rise of Turkish series in Latin America did not only happen on television screens. Facebook groups, YouTube scene shares, Instagram fan pages, TikTok edits, and following actors kept this interest constantly alive. The audience was no longer just a person watching the series. They became part of an active community that translated scenes, shared lines, followed actor accounts, commented on series, and recommended them to other countries. Thanks to these digital communities, Turkish series were not limited to their broadcast time. They turned into stories discussed, shared, and rediscovered at any time of the day. The 10th reason was that Turkish series turned into cultural diplomacy. This is perhaps the most important outcome. A country can introduce itself to the world in many ways. Through politics, trade, tourism campaigns, or official promotions. But sometimes, what introduces a country most powerfully is a home in a series, a family at a table, the lights of a city, or a single sentence from a character's mouth. Turkish series created a new curiosity about Turkey in Latin America. People started learning Turkish words. They researched the actors' real lives. They became more curious about Istanbul, Cappadocia, Turkish coffee, Turkish cuisine, traditions, and family structure. For some, Turkey was no longer a distant country heard in the news, but a living cultural space where beloved stories took place. This effect did not emerge by chance. It formed over the years. First, a few series attracted attention. Then the audience got used to it. Then new series came. Actors became known. Cities were wondered about. Social media grew the interest. Broadcasters bought more Turkish productions. And over time, Turkish series in Latin America turned into a recognized television category on their own. Today, when looking at this success, it is not enough to talk only about ratings. Because the impact of Turkish series in Latin America tells something beyond numbers. This impact shows that an emotional common ground can form between cultures. People can speak different languages. They can live on different continents. They can grow up within different histories and traditions. But emotions such as family, love, loss, hope, justice, loyalty, and the desire to start over can cross borders. Turkish series achieved exactly this in Latin America. Without losing their own cultural identity, they touched the emotional memory of another geography. Therefore, Latin America's interest in Turkish series should not be seen as a temporary trend. Of course, not every series achieves the same success. Interest does not form with the same intensity in every period. New platforms, changing viewing habits, and global competition constantly transform this field. But the bond formed is permanent. Because the audience now knows what a Turkish series is. They know what to expect from these series. When family drama, great love, strong acting, long breath story, emotional music, and impressive locations come together, a unique narrative language emerges. This narrative language has become one of the greatest international values of the Turkish television sector. The Latin America example shows that the success of Turkish series is not just an export success. It is also the success of storytelling. It is a country's ability to translate its own emotions, its own cities, its own family structure, and its own social tensions into a universal language. This language is sometimes established with a single glance. Sometimes in a mother's silence. Sometimes on the stairs of an old house. Sometimes in a short scene by the Bosphorus. Sometimes in a confrontation awaited for years. The Latin American audience understood this language. Because this language was not just Turkish. It was the language of the story. And a well-told story often reaches the heart without needing translation. When we look back today, the interest of Latin America in Turkish series cannot be explained by a few simple headlines. This interest is a great result of the combination of family values, melodrama tradition, visual curiosity, strong acting, music, social media, and international broadcasting strategy. Each piece was important on its own. But the real power came from these pieces coming together over the years. Turkish series did not just bring new stories to Latin America. They also created a new sense of closeness between two cultures. This closeness began in front of the screen. Then it grew on social media. Then it turned into tourism, language, music, actor fandom, and cultural curiosity. A period of Turkish television stories, which were once produced only for the local market, have transformed into productions watched, discussed, and emotionally connected to even in the most remote corners of the world. That is why the answer to the question is now clearer. Latin America fell in love with Turkish series because these series did not just show them Turkey. They also gave back their own emotions. Within characters coming from another continent, they saw their own families, their own loves, their own resentments, and their own hopes. And perhaps most importantly, Turkish series reminded Latin America of this. A good story, no matter where it is born, can find a home for itself anywhere in the world when told with the right emotions. These stories coming from Turkey did exactly that in Latin America. They reached from one screen to another, from one home to another home, from one country to another country. They grew over time. They matured. And in the end, they turned into one of the most remarkable cultural bonds in television history.
One story, one heart, Leyale, Leyale. One dream.